craziest, smallest conspiracy theorist you've ever seen. Understand this truth. We no longer have a democratic government in the UK. Our government has been hijacked by greedy and selfish imposters posing as politicians. They believe they are better than us. Until this problem is perfectly done, the tyranny will continue. Thank you.
Who makes a noise for Jasmine, please? But I think she should consider it for that comedy. And hands up if you have trouble parking and travelling around Oxford today. Hands up if you nearly got hit by one of the million cyclists that you saw. Yeah. And just a quick note as well, I know there's music playing. I know we haven't got the best speakers in the world, guys, and by that I don't mean the people, I mean the PA system. Now obviously if we had more money we could get more speakers, but we've got what we've got and we're doing this for a reason. So if we can, if anyone's close to a speaker that's got music on, maybe tell them to turn it down a bit out of respect for the people that have taken the time to come here today. Now the next man, and we know that this is not about science, they're not doing this for scientific reasons or for climate change, it's all about control. And we do have an expert here with us today, a climate change expert, who's made a mathematical model of climate change over the last 50 years. Now this man is absolutely amazing and he will tell you what the real science is and why this is so unnecessary. Please give a massive round of applause to Paul Burgess.
Hi everyone. I have a website on YouTube called 10 Years in My Poor Days. I don't make a sentence. In fact, the question.
Goodbye, con your lips!
Okay, I'm going to have to shout a bit. Is that better? Right. I have a YouTube channel called Climate Realism by Paul Burgess. I don't make a cent out of it, in fact I subsidise it all. And that is where you can go and get the real detail behind what I'm going to say today. And what I'm going to say is this. I'm glad being involved in this. I'm 78.
Birmingham, I've been everywhere, right? Ever since the start of the first ever protest in this country.
I make lots of videos exposing the false science. And the most fundamental thing that we need to take away is this carbon footprint notion. Carbon is actually good. More carbon, more CO2 is actually good. And today, all these conferences, all these COP meetings make no difference at all. If you plot the growth of carbon by the graph that everybody agrees on, there is no change when you have a COP meeting. All these $1 trillion spent on it achieve nothing. Today, we are burning more and producing more CO2 than ever before. So why are all these politicians pretending that we're reducing carbon? We're not. So I'm going to see more of that. I'm going to give you an example of some science. 32 scientists in 12 countries with 24 institutions involved. They made a study of NASA data, satellite data of the Earth. And they did it over 30 years. And vegetation on Earth grew by 14%. That's the same as 2 USA land masses going from nothing on them to full of vegetation. And instead, 2/3 of that was caused by CO2. That's the sort of benefit. It's why we put CO2 into greenhouses. So the whole basis, the whole bedrock of climate alarmism is wrong. Absolutely wrong. And today, look it up on world of data. Look it up on Google. We have record crops in Africa, record crops in the Far East, record rice crops, record all sorts of crops. And that's because of CO2. So more CO2 is good. It also does something else. We have been through a CO2 famine just pre-industrial revolution when the CO2 level was really low. They couldn't grow properly. We had starvation. In that world I want to go back to, we lived really as a peasant community, starving. And what happens when you give a plant more CO2 is it needs less water. So that's why the German scientists did a study on the Sahara Desert and found it decreasing in size, not increasing. All the evidence is there for you.
Look at all these things that come on the answers.
Let me give some examples now. I used to be in charge of Wales, water resources. I built a model in the 1970s, which really interested me. It was based on really trying to understand river flows in the European river system. And in that model, I discovered a solar sensor along with the solar sensor. That sparked my interest 50 years ago. Now, if I take droughts, we are now getting less extreme weather than in history, than in our short time for over a few hundred years. It's less extreme. The biggest drought in the UK was 1775. Nothing has come near it since. What's the next biggest drought? 1798. This is the world they want to go back to. What's the next biggest drought? 1808. Then 1854, 1887, 1890, 1921. I've just read out the top 5 droughts, the top worst droughts in British history. And it's the same for floods. They go on about the Pakistan floods. But look at history. And by the way, Pakistan has reduced its forests so much, it's down by, I think, about 90%. Because when you've got poverty, people chop down wood. People chop down the wood to get the energy, and that causes floods. But the floods in the past were worse. Forest fires, here's a good one. You may have heard of a bloke called Biden. He came into power, and he didn't like the record on forest fires, because it's only 20% in America now what it was in the past. In 1920s and 30s, it was 5 times higher. And this data was on the public government website. So when he came into power, do you know what he did? He deleted the data prior to it. He just deleted the data. You'd have to be a nutter to accept it. They actually hide it. Hurricanes, tornadoes are well known. Now let's go on about Antarctica. You heard the stories about high temperature in Antarctica. By the way, it's true. From South America, you can get a little blast of wind, as it were, that brings some hot air to the peninsula. Antarctica is now the coldest it's ever been on record. Check that online. It's the coldest it's ever been. And actually, funny enough, more CO2 cools Antarctica. But, that is a fact. And that was also established by satellite and crystal observation by a group of scientists in the EU. But I quote all these on my website. My website, our future panel, is designed to give you videos that link the science that anyone can understand. And one of the best compliments I had was my 11-year-old son understood it and said, hey, that's not what I'm taught in school. And the real sin is teaching children in school this absolute rubbish. Because for the last 30 years, there's been a mass brainwashing movement of children. Drowned islands. None of them are drowned. 90% of them are drowned. 8% drowned overall. Tuvalu, or Tuvalu, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, the most pro island in the world, the one they featured. This is going to go first, has grown 2.9%. But it doesn't stop their leaders sitting in the pool of water on the shore saying, help us, give us money. That's what the whole of the IPCC is about. It's controlled by third-world countries. They even write the scientific report at the end that goes to all the politicians, to all the summary of the policy. I do a video on the colour in the world. Great Barrier Reef is now the record healthiest it's ever been in history, that recorded history. And coral around the world, 80% of it is healthier than it's ever been. That's a recent report. Power generation. What they're doing today is signing contracts with wind and solar to bake in high energy costs for you. I'll give you something now you can check. They'll say this wind farm can do 10,000 houses, or this solar farm can do 5,000 houses. It's not true. And they say they use OPM figures. That's true. But the OPM has 2.9 of it, or just 90% is electricity, 80% is gas. So in other words, they can claim they can do 5,000 houses, providing those houses have 80% of their energy supplied by gas. that they're trying to do away with. And this supplies, I can promise you, I've got a video of it, this supplies every single time, by every single wind farm, and anyone can see through it. And so I went to the developers on the Swansea, the solar farm, I went to the development meeting, and I said, how much power do you produce? They couldn't answer me. They couldn't even get the units of power right. That's how bad this is. We're now paying, sometimes, wind farms 50% of the time not to turn on. We have to pay them not to give us the power. Why? Because overnight that demand is low and the wind blows, the contract says we've still got to buy it. So we can't buy it. We haven't got the use for it. We have to keep the grid in balance. And so what happens is we have to give it away or we have to pay people to take it. We pay Belgium to take the energy from us. 3 wind farms in Scotland was built by a group of MPs. 50% of the time they were paid not to give us power. 50%.
Niestety musiałem się z radia przełączyć, bo mi Prism coś nie działało.
Most of the time, all the energy from wind farms is going to be paid, even if they don't turn off, because we're going to have so much overnight energy we can't store. And I've done a video on this because no one's doing the maths. I could go into detail. Then, as a cheaper way of getting around this, they're saying, let's pay you not to take the energy because it's 4 and 6. Up to 10 times the price, it's 33 pence a kilowatt hour for me now, and it offers me £4. Right? That is cheap. I'll tell you why. Because when the solar farm gets paid, it doesn't get paid solar farm or wind farm price. It gets paid the highest price on gas that year. And you know, we've gone 15 times the normal price. So everyone gets paid a super high price. It's an absolute con. And these are all being baked in now. The Welsh government has got solar farms. I have been an environmentalist all my life. At the age of 11, I gave pocket money to try and clean up our rivers. I've been involved in that at the highest levels. I was in head office of Wales.
Poroznoście troszkę, moi drodzy. Niech sobie inni zobaczą też.
And they don't bother it's green. When it comes to green, the solar farm in Wales now they're proposing is on a 53-acre site with badgers at an ancient forest with 11 species of bats I didn't even know about. And when I asked the government where's the environment report, there's none. The Welsh government said, you don't need one. You try and get a house built for bats or something. No chance at all. No chance at all, but you can get the green. If it's green, it crushes the environment very often, but they don't understand it. Wind farms in Germany are studying 200,000 bats killed a year. 200,000 bats a year. 3,525 insects. Birds. Many birds, especially birds. So I could go on forever about all this. But it's on my YouTube channel in detail. Now, I have tried to have debates with leading professors. In fact, professor who's the best-selling book at the time on Amazon on climate change. Only to discover they have no understanding of debating. I was absolutely shattered about the lack of understanding. I have tried to debate extinction in Belgium. I've had 2 confrontations with them, nice debates, and the first one they ended up saying, Paul, you're wrong, the wind doesn't blow, we use gas. So we had extinction in Belgium, so it wasn't gas. And the second one, they said, oh, we can use a new coal method where we can bring in coal very quickly. So extinction in Belgium supported as that's how mad this world is. Everyone runs away from debate with me. That's my problem. And yet when you see my YouTube channel, you understand why. And the biggest thing for my YouTube channel is to start kids. Because that's designed for anything, and it really is. But it backs everything I say with science and evidence. My dream would be to debate the BBC saying, try this. My dream is to debate Bilderberg on BBC. Because he's likely to be in the Labour government, the one controlling all this business. That's my dream, there's a challenge. Of course, they won't do that. Because of all the language when it comes to climate change, the law, this is the law of the land. You cannot, you're not allowed not to give an even balance of argument when it comes to climate change.
don't present yourself. That is a law introduced by Blur into legislation. They decided what the science was 3 years ago. They decided it. And that's not what science is. And if you are, as a born professor, who pointed out that the Colorado in Australia is not value reef was the healthiest it's ever been, if you do that, you get sacked. But it's now a complete industry of tens of thousands of people, tens of thousands of scientists whose mortgages depend on this alarmism carrying on. It's not true. And I'm willing to debate anybody, full stop. So bring it up. I'll bring it up, I'll debate them, and I'll debate them in public. I just want to say, guys, that we're obviously not fans of the mainstream media, right? No. We've got Panorama, BBC's Panorama, just here. Can we give them a big
Liars!
And we've also got another reporter from the BBC, and we give them a big boo, the biggest boo in the BBC. Today, you should have been backstage. Anyway, guys, we'll crack on. We've only got 3 more speakers, very, very brief. And then we're going to get marching to make some noise, and then Panorama can probably come out with a massive hit piece of half an hour bullshit on the BBC again. Anyway, our next speaker, you'll know, he's been with us in the freedom movement, as we call it, the United Peaceful Freedom Movement. And since 2010, he went through what he calls his conscious awakening. And a lot of us have been through that. This guy's a DJ, he's been fighting with us, talking with us, and fighting for our civil liberties and human rights now for the last 3 years. Mark Devlin!
There's a reason why certain phrases have entered into common parlance. And one of them, which we'll all be familiar with, is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Yeah. It's actually the emblem for the Fabian Society, denoting the slow creep of Fabian socialism or cultural Marxism into society. But wolf in sheep's clothing also describes what is proposed at Oxford.
Mamusia, dziękuję za pozdrowienia.
And today is a very important day. History is watching.
Wszystkich pozdrawiam.
Because as Oxford today is everybody else's town and city tomorrow, if what is proposed here is allowed to succeed. So a wolf in sheep's clothing describes something which appears innocent and harmless on the surface in how it's presented, but is actually deeply malevolent and harmful when you strip away the surface. That describes what's going on here, right? We can see that what is being proposed for Oxford is nothing about worthy, noble causes such as protecting the environment, zero carbon emissions, sustainable development, and all these other appeals to emotion with which it's been presented. These are tactics, psychological weaponry employed by the advertising industry and perfected by Edward Bernays, the master of propaganda and public relations. That's how this is being presented. We know better. We know, as we've heard from many of the speakers, and Jasmine summed it up brilliantly, that this is just a stepping stone towards the New World Order nightmare future that the psychopaths have lined up for us. But they're not going to succeed. Right? There's a reason why Oxford has been chosen as the blueprint for all of this. I know a thing or two about this city. I was born here. I grew up in the area. I used to work on Fox FM, for anyone that remembers that, back in the day. DJ'd at the Park End Club. But more recently, I've worked as a private hire driver up until COVID. And I used to have in the back of the car people like big pharma executives, lecturers and professors from the university, and I would hear some of the conversations that went on in the back of the car. Oxford has been selected because it's perceived as a place which is very system-minded, where people listen to establishment sources. But I would suggest that they've made a tactical error with this one, and that they've overreached. And the great turnout we see here today is indicative of that. When the reality of what these 15-minute cities really are going to mean for people in their regular daily lives hits home and the penny drops, there is going to be massive resistance to the attempted theft of our rights and freedoms. In George Orwell's 1984, which seems like a fitting story, the character O'Brien says to Winston Smith, "If you want a vision of the future, Winston, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever." I say to hell with that vision of the future.
Yes!
I have two potential visions of the future myself. In one, we're all standing around in a Soviet Cold War era gulag in the exercise yard, looking at each other, scratching our heads, saying, how the hell did we end up here? In the other vision of the future, the one which I prefer, at some point we're all sitting with our grandchildren on our knee, and they're saying to us, "Granddad, Grandma, what were you doing in the early 2020s when the psychopaths attempted to take away our future and plunge us into this new world order nightmare?" And we can look them in the eye and we can say, "Sweetheart, I was doing everything I could with every fibre of my being to resist it." We put it down. Our generation put down this threat. I want to be able to say that, and I believe we all will. We need to say that we saw what was coming, and we said, "You want to do what? Not on our watch." Not on our watch. The answer is no. Thank you.
I know I've already done it once, but BBC. Shame on you! Shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame!
Look, I jest. I think you're all right. You're a cameraman. I'm trying to cover myself now. We are peaceful, but shame on you. No, seriously, guys. We know that you're laughing. He's laughing, everyone. He's probably. You know that we're telling the truth, and you know that we're on the right side of history, BBC. So, as long as you report the truth, then we're all right with you.
Beautiful protection!
As well. This guy, he's pretty much an expert in leadership and human potential. This guy has been with us from the very beginning as well. He's been talking to you, he does a podcast, he's been speaking the truth, and he's done an awful lot for the freedom movement, human rights and civil liberties. So please make some noise for Dan Aston Gregory.
All right, good afternoon everyone, great to see so many people here. Now I'm guessing you people at the front have already made up your mind that this is a really bad idea to introduce these schemes, am I right?
Yes!
Great. So I want to speak to the people who have come here out of curiosity today to find out what's going on. Because the reality is, our dear friends at the BBC and others aren't really speaking about this at all.
Why not?
But this is a global rollout of a scheme called the 15-minute cities. And when people say that, you know, the press, like the BBC, will say, oh, it's a grand, the conspiracy theorists are saying it's a grand conspiracy. Well, if you look at it, it's an open conspiracy because you've got organisations like the C40 and the Global Covenant of Mayors who have all signed up to the idea that we do these 15-minute cities. And in the UK, already 100 plus councils have said, yes, we're going to do what Oxford are doing and others before them. And with everything that's been spoken here today, there's always an emotional plea to some utopian idea. And I can understand it. I can understand the appeal of a green city with, lots of beautiful areas for our children to play in. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't actually want to live in an area where there's lots of great amenities nearby? We all want that kind of thing. So where are the checkbooks at the local councils in terms of investing in beautifying the area, investing in industry, investing in local jobs? You would expect a 15-minute scheme which promises these wonderful ideals of everything you need within 15 minutes of your doorstep to actually be out there actively building and investing in your local community. But how many people know a local or national government that is spending their money wisely at the moment? This is a left-leaning city, I know that. And again, the media will say, oh, the right-wingers came here today. I've been politically homeless all of my life. There's things on the left I like, there's things on the right I like, there's things on the left I'm appalled by, and there's things on the right I'm appalled by. But the reality, no wonder why you're politically homeless in the state of affairs we find ourselves in here today. But the governments are needlessly spending our money on war and, cronyism and all the things that billions have been spent through the last 3 years on COVID, leaving us in quite a precarious situation. So no, we're not facing a beautiful 15-minute city where everything is wonderfully available on your local doorsteps. Wonderful education for your children, beautiful parks, wonderful amenities, lovely restaurants. If that was really what was on offer, you would see people's legs matching their mouths and taking action to actually build vibrant communities. And I'm sure we'd all agree with that idea. That's the promise. But like every con man, it's a missale. We're being missold. Because what's on offer, rather than this beautiful, lovely, vibrant environment on your doorstep, is surveillance, car CCTV, watching your every move, blockade, stopping you moving around the city, and completely removing your ability to travel freely. And the reality is this, within every utopian ideal, there has to be realism and practical reality. There has to be pragmatism. If you're a major employer in Oxford, how are your employers going to get to you if you're only able to get within 15 minutes of your city? Now, of course, there's exemptions. Right, okay. All this language we're getting used to for your own safety, exemptions. It's all become normalized in this new normal. Who accepts the new normal, by the way? No! I think it's time that we define a brighter future for ourselves. It's time for us to take the power back and say, actually, we do want vibrant, beautiful, lovely communities on our doorstep. But who's going to build them? If we wait for the government, we'll be waiting the rest of our lives. It's down to you and I. It's down to each one of us to say, actually, I'm going to take personal responsibility in this decade, and I'm going to make a difference in my community. I'm going to lock arms with people next to me, left and right. I don't care where they lean politically, but I'm going to make a decision to actually make a beautiful community, and we're going to say no to the state powers that are trying to intervene and micromanage every single detail of our lives. There's a great paternalism about the government. They think they're your parents. The reality is that we're adults. We don't need other parents. We don't need more parents. And the hard thing is this. I grew up, I'm 39 years old. I turned 40 this year. I grew up in the days of analog television. Who can remember analog television? And then it started to get a little bit digital when I was a child, and there was this parental control setting which would prevent you as a child from seeing things that are unacceptable to see. Now, my parents never switched that on because they simply taught me. They taught me a lesson about what's acceptable for a young child to consume. They taught me to understand principles and values, and therefore they enabled me to make my own decisions. They could have just switched it off so I couldn't ever learn for myself, and that's the kind of world that we're living in right now, is that people want to shut you down and take control. What kind of lesson are we sending to our children if that's the way we live? Why don't we empower people and nurture people to actually make a difference in our community rather than shutting us down and stopping our movement and preventing us from living our lives? And I agree with everything that's been said here today. Thank you. We must stop it at its roots. This is a course set in motion. It's already happening. And the resistance is building, but they're acting fast and they've got a lot more money and power than we have. But we've got people power. We've got people power. And when we come out in numbers and we have the courage to share the stories with one another and speak our true voice, because you know what, we've been suppressed for so long, we're slammed the media. The minute we say anything that goes against the narrative, you're slammed. It's time to have the courage to go beyond that. Regardless of what the media say about what happened here today, we know what happened here today. We were here, we're living it, we're breathing it, we're not afraid to challenge authority. But we are willing to challenge authority on the basis that we do want a brighter future. We do want that nice ideal. But we know that it's only going to happen if we take matters into our own hands. And that's why we're here today. Thank you very much.
You're just going to get a shot on the bum. Anyway, guys, you've only got one more speaker, and you are going to be marching very, very soon. And as you do go towards that direction in which you'll be marching, can you please pick up some of the postcards we have, because they're from messages to the council. So in the last gazebo with the light papers and the flyers, you'll see some postcards for Oxford Council, if you can collect them and fill them in a bit later on. Now, our last speaker, everyone will know as well. Now, a group called Save Our Rights, again, have been standing for our human rights and civil liberties since all of this started. And we know this is all connected and it's all about control. And Louise is going to tell you a bit about digital ID. And like we said, this is all about control. It is all connected. We are just the resistance. And this today is just a demonstration of mass non-compliance, peacefully, of course. But can everyone make some noise for Louise Creffield of Save Our Rights?
Here in Oxford today is to prevent the 15-minute cities with mandates. But what we have to be aware of is just how many avenues they are taking to exert control over us all. At the moment, they are actively trying to bring in digital IDs. Now, this is something that we've talked about for many years, but now it's on the government website. It's no longer a conspiracy, it's a fact. As is always the way, we're just usually a couple of years early. On the website, it states that they want not only your name, your date of birth, but your passport details, your driving license number, your transaction details, and your photographs. Now, when we've got a rise in ANPR cameras and facial recognition cameras, then that could ultimately pave the way for total control. Obviously, they're not saying that's what they're going to use it for at this point, but we have no accountability, no way to measure, no mechanisms to challenge them if they do. Because at the moment, we see in Birmingham, they've got fines for low emission zones. 30,000 people a month are not paying those fines. That is a phenomenal effort of mass non-compliance in a peaceful, reasonable way. However, if they bring in digital IDs and they've got your transaction details and they can restrict your benefits or they can restrict your pension, it's not going to be possible. They will just take that money straight from you. So all of these things are linked, and this is where we have to keep an eye on absolutely everything. We have to be constantly vigilant. At the moment, they are running a consultation. This consultation is designed on purpose to be exceptionally difficult. If you oppose digital IDs, for the first two-thirds of the consultation, you want to strongly disagree. But then suddenly, it all switches and you start needing to agree because they've worded it in a way to trip you up. However, we've created a guide to help people do it. I don't think it's worth all of you spending 4 hours each trying to figure it out because that's just a waste of a collective time. So I spent many hours creating a guide so that you can do it in about 5-10 minutes. But you must do it because they take your silence as consent. So you might think they don't listen, but they do. They listen to numbers. They don't listen to individual voices. It doesn't matter if you write the best argument. It doesn't matter if you write an essay about why it's so bad. What matters is numbers. It is always a numbers game. And today we have numbers. So that is the key. Take the 5 minutes. Be part of the numbers. Keep up the pressure in all respects because they do take silence as consent. I've made it really easy for you. You can find it on the Save Our Rights UK pages. And it is all part of the same agenda. It's all coming together. And if we want to resist tyranny, we've got to do it in every single way. So thank you for letting me share about that. But thank you so much for being here today. It's amazing. People as far as the eye can see. Every direction.
Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much. We're going to let the music play you out. But if you want to make your way, turn around in this direction. Now you're going to be making some noise and sending the message through Oxford. Thank you very much, guys.
Słuchajcie, na razie spauzuję.